Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Truth Hurts. Ready to drop another vid. Before I get started, let me just say this is not personal. I'm not trying to convict or convert anybody. I just want you to think. Now let's get into this. In the scriptures, it states in Acts 11:26, and the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. In all the ancient Aramaic and Greek manuscripts, you find the early believers of Christ called Christianos or Christians, but not in the Hebrew text. In the Hebrew text, they're called Mashiach or Messiah. Christian comes from the Greek word Christos, and is a translation of the Hebrew Mashiach or the anointed. What seems to go unnoticed is that in Egypt during the Ptolemaic dynasty, there was a deity by the name of Serapis, whose followers were known as Christians. I implore you to remember that the Ptolemies came to rule Egypt through the conquest of Alexander the Greek. You say, why is that important? Well, remember, the term Christian for the followers of the Messiah first occurred in Antioch, an ancient Greek city, a Gentile nation. During this time, the Egyptian ruler was a Gentile, Ptolemy I Soter. In fact, look up the word soteriology. After his death, he would be consecrated as a god by the name of Serapis, and his followers were called Christians. So the followers of Serapis in Egypt was around 300 BC, and the first Christians in Acts occurs around 60 AD. A full 240 years later. So this term Christian has a history in pagan worship over 200 years before it was adopted by the believers in Greece or Antioch, a Gentile nation. So when we look at the image of this Serapis and compare it to the images of Jesus, the resemblance is striking. So if the Greek people had the term Christian over 200 years before the believers in Antioch, that's at least suspicious. Okay, to track this down even more profoundly, let's go back to 60 AD when the book of Acts was said to have been written. What's going on? Well, 10 years prior to this date, in 50 AD, you had the Council of Jerusalem, considered by Catholics to be the prototype and forerunner to all the other ecumenical councils. This council was convened to decide what to do with the Gentiles. By now, Paul of the New Testament had started several churches in Asia Minor. As Christians well know, Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles. The result of this council was that the Gentiles who were converted to Christianity weren't obligated to keep most of the laws of Moses, including circumcision. They did, however, maintain that fornication, idolatry, and the eating of blood be prohibited. Bear in mind, this was a council of men. The Most High had nothing at all to do with this. And what does Scripture say about circumcision? In Genesis, the Most High gave the commandment to the Hebrews that circumcision is a must as an identifier as the Most High's people. So the council abolished the need for circumcision, only for the converts. Since Paul saw the death of Yeshua as the ushering in of the church age, when Gentile nations would turn from their idols and embrace the true God of Israel, in my opinion, the prophecy of Zechariah, which these words can be found in, were taken out of context by Paul. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, the council, of its own volition, changed Scripture, creating some sort of hybrid religion called Christianity. The fact is, today's Christianity looks nothing like the Hebrew God of the Scriptures. There's so many Gentile pagan features, you can hardly reconcile their practices with anything other than pagan Rome and the confusion of religions they had during that time. I still don't understand why Christians of today don't at least do a little research. But I know some beautiful Christian people, so I refuse to judge you, ultimately. Now, how about Islam and Judaism? Surely one of these has to be a true religion. Firstly, all religions, every single one of them, were inspired by men, not the Most High. Or better yet, were corrupted by men. The Hebrews never had a religion. They carried with them a culture and a way of life. They had no symbols or special art. They had the Ark of the Covenant and prophets. They only received judges and kings because of their propensity for wanting to fit in to the societies around them. Something they still do to this very day. They love secular ideas and invention. The idea of being set apart sounds good in theory, but we seem to despise it in practice. What you should be noticing throughout this campaign is that other people took your traditions and cultures and morphed it into something else. Now you're begging, fighting to be a part of it. Yet when it was yours, you scarcely honored it. You're like a kid who throws his toy away, sees another kid playing with it, and now you want to play with it. Islam, as we know it today, started in 613 AD with the Prophet Muhammad. Born in Arabia at a time when the population was mostly Edom. Muhammad was Edom too, with some Ishmaelite blood. His rise began with his marriage to Khadijah, daughter of Khuwailid, a successful businessman and leader of the Quraysh tribe in Mecca. Why he would let his daughter marry a peasant, illiterate boy like Muhammad is highly questionable. But anyway, he did. Now, in the Bukhara Hadith, considered an authentic collection of writings by the Prophet, it reveals how Rome planted Islam. Mind you, he married Khadija, a rich Roman Catholic businesswoman. Muhammad was born in 570 AD in Mecca under the Roman Catholic rule of the Byzantine Empire. By 610 AD, Muhammad was 40 years old, already married to his Roman Catholic wife for 15 years. Then he receives his revelation from the angel Gabriel. The angel found Muhammad an illiterate in a cave and gave him his first revelation. If this sounds familiar to Roman Catholics, it should, because the same thing happened to Saint Ignatius, the creator of the Jesuits. In 600 AD, very few Arabs followed Judaism, Christianity, or Zoroastrianism, the three dominant religions of the time. Most had a polytheistic religion and worshipped idols. So in the beginning, Muhammad had few followers. But in time, by 629, Islam started to blossom. But why would Rome create a religion seemingly contrary to its own? Firstly, there had always been a polemic or dispute about the nature of this Jesus Christ. Just follow me. See, in northern Africa, Libya to be exact, a priest by the name of Arius disputed the Roman creation of Serapis, who would later become Jesus during the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Arius claimed that Serapis was a man and his image was created by men. Arius started waking people up, and Rome started to panic. Their hold on North Africa had always been through religion, and if they allowed Arius to continue, they were afraid they would have a full-scale revolt. So Constantine, being the shrewd politician and ruler, came up with the Council of Nicaea to reconcile the issues created by Arius, who was later exiled as a heretic. During this council is when they decided the nature of this Jesus Christ figure. It should be noted that Rome had nothing to do with the Hebrew scriptures, nor did they have the power to invoke any changes. They were Gentile converts. The Most High had no conversations with them. Anyway, this is ultimately where the Trinity comes from. There's a reason the Trinity is not in the Bible. It was not written or sanctified by the Most High. Argue all you want. So this polemic, this argument went on for hundreds of years, even to this day. Anyway, Rome realized there were still many in North Africa who didn't accept this newly created Jesus as God. Just like with Arius, Rome sought to control the entire known world through religion, a much better device than war. Thus, they created Islam, offering those who didn't accept their Jesus an alternative option. You want to know why so many Hebrews have turned to Islam? Even though they've lost their knowledge of self, something in their spirit won't allow them to accept this European creation called Jesus. That's why. As for Judaism, the picture is clear. The Jews we see in Israel today are converts from around 800 AD. If you remember, I spoke about the Council of Jerusalem earlier and told you they decided the Gentiles didn't have to practice circumcision and other Hebraic traditions and laws. Well, that was in 50 AD. 20 years later, in 70 AD, those same Roman Gentiles attacked Jerusalem with great slaughter. Those who didn't die or get captured escaped into Africa, finally making their way to the West Coast after languishing and getting pushed further into the interior by the original Africans. But quite obviously, that left a void in the region. With the Hebrews and their quirky monotheism out of the way, their spot would have to be filled. Could have happened earlier, but the people who would become the replacement people hadn't yet converted. By 800 AD, the conversion was complete. The reason the Jews were all in Europe by the 19th and 20th century is because that's where they're from. That's their place of origin. They are not a Hebrew people. And the fact is, they never said they were. They called themselves Jews and Semites, not Hebrews or Shemites. They say they're Israelis, not Israelites. That's a whole nother video. The truth is, all three major religions are political and hybrids of the Hebrew traditions and scripture. They were all conversions done to control the world. None of them have their origin among the Gentiles, yet the Gentiles control them all. Just look at Africa. Christianity dominates the world, especially Western civilization, yet Christians claim they're persecuted all over the world. No religion has killed more people than Christianity. By the time Christianity became what it is today, it was a Gentile movement. If you would just read the scripture for truth, you'd realize that's a problem. The Hebrew traditions have gone through so many transformations, it's hardly recognizable. But I'm not here to convert or convict anybody. But I do want you to start thinking. You can believe what you want to believe, but ask yourself, what do you know? Just because your prayers get answered doesn't mean it's from the Most High. Satan offered Yeshua the world. I'm sure getting you a $10 raise at your job ain't above his pay grade. As long as we see the world from the lens of capitalism and material gains, we will stay locked in this demonic paradigm. We think blessings are material and that our obedience should earn us a new car. The scripture tells you in Matthew to seek the kingdom of the Most High, and all those things you require will be added. Simply going to church on Sunday and paying tithes is not seeking the Most High. You say you go by the Bible, right? Well, next time, open it up. Peace.